They don't care about the individual because they're statists. They care about the state. That's what happens when you go to court these days. Administrative court, it's a state-run entity, so of course they support the state. Princeton last week or 2 weeks ago, I was at the court. I actually asked the court, the judge, I said, Your Honor, does the state have rights over the people? And he said yes. So something is wrong out there, ladies and gentlemen. The state has no rights over the people. The people have rights over everyone. Okay, and when I say I don't have rights over another individual, and that individual doesn't have rights over me, but for sure, a creation out of thin air called the state, called the federal government, called, let's say, the IRS, called the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the FBI, all of them. They're just creations. I mean, it's like if you walk into my office, I'm a CPA. I have an accounting practice in Hightstown, New Jersey, Castle Consulting. We help people prepare taxes, but we also try to explain them what the truth is. That these are creations out of thin air, and then they somehow have gotten the power over us. So we have to take it back. What do you think, Joe?
They are more than just creations out of thin air. I mean, that guy standing over there who's green and floating in my mind, he's a creation out of thin air. They are a tradition, and they have guns, and they have tanks, and they have jails, and they have many weapons to use against us, and they have consensual authority of about 99% of everybody else to when they do come and use the guns against you, and they do throw you in their jail, and you do resist, and you get a bullet through your head. Most people say, hey, that's the way it goes. So
but I think
this
in America,
is consented to.
But I don't think in America you'll see a police officer or a government agency pull out a gun and kill an innocent man.
Oh, excuse me, you're not black.
Well, and speaking of black, unfortunately, Daryl's not here tonight. We hope Daryl's feeling well.
Black lives matter.
So,
Black lives matter.
Joe, it doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter anything about how you think. It's
they've
freedom.
been killing people for years and they get away with it. Come on.
Well, I think it's time for me, most importantly, is to understand the law. And when I say law, I mean rule of law, not the rule of man. Because it takes a long journey to make a difference between the two concepts. So, of course, we are excited for today. We have some great guests. Actually, the music you heard leading into the show is from Jordan Page, right. Freedom lover, Ron Paul supporter. For the Ron Paul fans out there, Jordan is such a down-to-earth guy and wants to give back the idea of freedom through music. So he'll be on at 9:45. Our first guest, Mark Stevens.
Right.
Mark Stevens is a YouTube guy I've watched. I've watched some videos of him where he's had conversations with the IRS. Calls into the IRS, and then, of course, he asks questions about the jurisdiction of their jurisdiction, which it'll be interesting to see what happened, because he said to me, or I saw a post that said he won his case. And in the studio, we have a special guest, very, very, very special guest, a man of many talents. He's a violin player. He is a law student that passed the bar and is now awaiting admittance into the bar. He is.
Does that mean that he gets to practice the made-up law?
I don't know. We're gonna have to quiz him on this stuff. We have. He's got a master's in accounting, and he is an associate at Castle Consulting. And I mean, when I say he came out of the sky at the right time, I gotta say, could not have been better. And I found him through Craigslist. I mean, that's how crazy it is. This law student who graduates from Valparaiso has his resume on Craigslist, and I was looking for an accountant, but I was also doing a lot of legal work in the sense of questioning the government, questioning them by posing constitutional questions to them and asking if this Constitution was superseded by other laws that I'm not familiar with. And I wanted them to respond back to me, and I did steps 1 and 2 of the process. And I find his resume. He comes into my office, and it was just like, here, dude, read this stuff. You're a lawyer. Come back to me with what you think. And that was the interview. It was kind of like, let me test him that way. And I didn't scare him away. I thought I would, but hey, he stuck to it. And 2 years later, he's been great help at Castle Consulting, helping clients deal with the maze of the craziness of the IRS. His name is Kevin Gilmartin, the Irishman from where in Ireland is your family from?
I actually don't know the answer to that
No?
question.
And do you believe that? He's Irishman, and right now they won't admit him into the bar. How wrong is that? That they won't allow an Irishman into a bar?
An underhanded.
Oh, boy.
Seriously.
Ethnic slur.
Ethnic slur. No, it's all good. Kevin has put up with my antics, and I welcome him to the show. Welcome, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. I actually want to go to a point that you opened up with.
Okay.
And that was the fear that the government can impose on people. And I think we jumped the gun a little bit, and Joe started talking about the tanks and the guns, and I think it really starts with paper, especially when you're talking about the IRS, and I know that's going to be one of the topics later in the night, but
sure.
Also I think needs to be addressed in general because 99% of the people are scared of that paper, and you really have to discuss it with people to get them to understand that paper shouldn't cripple their logic, because just because the Internal Revenue Service says you owe us $3,000 or we're going to come in and audit you doesn't mean you have to open your door and let them in. It also doesn't mean that you have to just go ahead and pay them. And I think that gets lost on people pretty quickly in this country because of the fear, because of maybe the past antics of our government and the overreaching authority they do have.
Yeah,
and the present antics of our government too.
Wow.
And the future antics.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the powers. I talk to Kevin all the time about the powers limiting the government in their role. It's very simple. I mean, Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. You can open that anytime. Google it. Look it up. It's 18 enumerated powers. That's
Right.
it.
You're right.
Just
I mean,
numbered
you
powers
are always,
that you
Neil,
have power.
Neil is always 100% right in theory.
In theory.
But there's also about 200 years of case law where the Supreme Court has given back everything based on either the General Welfare Clause or the Interstate Commerce Clause to say, well, you know what? You're driving your car around New Jersey, but it was made in Michigan, and it's interstate commerce, so we'll do that. You're using this pencil. You have a red-eye pencil? That's got stuff coming from all over the world in your pencil. You're carrying a pencil. You're engaged in interstate commerce. Therefore, we can do anything we want to you for the general welfare, of course.
Well, and again, you have to understand definition of those terms back in 1776 had a specific meaning. And, of course, it's very easy through education or taking over the control of education to take a word and make it a new definition that you believe is the truth. When, of course, those words used back then, it's like when you meet an Englishman in the country and you hear the brilliant words they use. I mean, they use brilliant. I mean, it's not too often you hear an American say that brilliant. And like I say, they meant to have meaning way above what the general thought is, okay? Because, of course, it's easy to say, like, I can have more power over you because, naturally, your competitiveness is to dominate someone. If you're a wrestler and you get on a mat, you're not going to just play around and shake hands. You're going to get out there and try to kick the guy's ass. So their theory, and Jefferson, like I say, in John Adams, that movie, Jefferson is so eloquent in his thinking. It's like he's on a higher plane of thought to always keep in mind what freedom is first. And Adams also, I mean, he stood up and said, look, I'm going to defend the general of the British who killed pretty much an American citizen, and at that time wasn't an American citizen because it was a colonial, right?
Citizen of the Massachusetts Bay Colony.
What's it called?
The Massachusetts Bay Colony.
So it was just a colony.
It was a colony of the Crown. It had a governor. All the colonies were semi-autonomous. They really didn't get much rule from the Crown. They basically the whole point of the whole thing was to have trading partners. It was a mercantile system. But they basically have got to set their own rules and all that. It was only until the French and Indian War that there was some threat from the West due to French incursion that the British came in and said, okay, we'll police this for you. And after that, they said, well, it costs us a lot to police that, so now we have to impose taxes. But again, the British who were there...
We have to impose taxes?
That's what the British said, because we paid to cover to defend your western frontier. Now you should pay us for it.
So it's paying back your debt.
Paying back your debt. That's the way the British looked at it.
And it's cool because in America, when they created the Constitution, there was a whole talk about debtor's prison. I mean, the question was, should we have a country that believes in debtor's prison, meaning you once you're in debt and you can't get out of debt, then you get put in jail and you kind of rot in jail because you can't never pay back your debt.
Right.
And they discussed that and said, look, in a free world and in a religious world, you have the right to have your plates washed clean so you can start all over. So that's why in Article 1, Section 8, there's bankruptcy laws, or the concept of bankruptcy. So, of course, they want to help you through the most strenuous time in someone's life is when they can't pay back their debt. They're struggling in life. They're having trouble putting food on their table for their kids. That you want to have that ability to wipe the slate clean and kind of work off with the debtors some sort of pennies on the dollar concept.
Right. Now, there are those who are anarchists and who would say that the Constitution itself was a bad idea because it took things from the Articles of Confederation, which just seemed fine. It was about how these 13 states interacted with each other, but it had nothing to do with very much of anything else. They said that was too weak. And there were people, when we think about like the anti-constitutionalists, and most people think, okay, well, I've read the Federalist Papers. These were the constitutionalists. They were the good guys. Anybody who was against the Constitution had to be a bad guy. They had to be a tyrant or something like that. Now, we know that Alexander Hamilton didn't agree with a lot of things that were put into the Constitution because it was too weak, but he supported it in the Federalist Papers because he knew he was going to set upon subverting it. He goes, it was the best deal he could get. But some of the guys like Henry Lee down in Virginia and all that, they were kind of like, you know what, you don't even need this because this is going to be opening up the floodgates to what we have today, where you have 200 years of judicial interpretation that, it's going to. So you're saying, yes, the original intent of the Constitution, but the original intent doesn't hold up in court. Constitutional law is the study of the case law that has got us from here to there.
Well, original intent, of course, Declaration of Independence referred to that law is not made by man.
Right.
It's nature's law of, or what do they call it?
That's like a mission statement that has no legal standing in a court of law.
Yeah, but if you're getting to the idea of freedom, I mean, it really starts with that. No one has rights over you. And then trying to put it into writing so that people can read a document. Because, of course, someone's word is not as good as gold if you have the concern of theft, of con man, or simply, of course, in testimony. I mean, Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1, U.S. Constitution, talks about having two witnesses. So when it came to papers that Kevin referred to, is when I send papers to the government, I do it with a dual signature witness as opposed to a notary. Now, a notary was a political way to kind of eliminate this dual witness so that one person can testify in court and it just simplifies the process. So I realized that two signatures, of course, is better than one. Because it truly has, if ever I'm in court and I need a witness, I'll have two witnesses. So if they take out one of my witnesses, hopefully the other one's still alive. But just kidding.
And that also goes back to the initial recording that you played about the ticket and how they can rely on the ticket as prima facie evidence, even though they only have one so-called witness to the issue.
So, Kevin.
But you can't.
When you go on, you're going to start talking Latin terms, which, of course, Latin is not known in this country except for the elite called the lawyers. So, of course, I like to bash lawyers.
Yeah,
I think CPAs are better than lawyers.
But we do have listeners in Latin America, so I'm sure that they're...
Fair. I don't know if elite's the proper term.
Prima
but-
facie, right? That's one prime.
Yeah, prima
prime is
facie.
one
That's
face, right? One
Right.
face. So the Constitution, of course, wanted to eliminate that one face to make it dual signatures, two faces that should be showing up at court and saying, I saw Neil talking hands-free on a cell phone, and I'm not sure why I got ticketed for driving hands-free in New Jersey when I think the rule of man says that driving hands-free is what they want you to do.
Well, I also think that getting lost in the conversation that's been mentioned a few different times so far, whether it's been in paper form, gold form, or whatnot, is money. And that kind of drives the entire bus of what we're discussing at this point.
Absolutely.
So I think that's probably the target of what the conversation should be about today is money, particularly with Mark coming up. And
Yeah, so getting back to Mark. So Mark Stevens actually just won the case, and I think he was just helping someone out. I don't know if he's a lawyer. I don't know if
He says he's not a lawyer. In fact, he has a book. What's it called? I put it in the promotional thing. Adventures in Legal Land, I think he calls it. And it's about how a non-lawyer has challenged the system.
Yeah, and actually, I challenge the system. I'm a CPA. I don't know if I get equal rights as lawyers. I mean, apparently, if I go to court, the lawyers get to go in front of me to handle the cases because I guess their time's more
It's funny.
important.
I remember you saying this the other day. I was at a family party. My cousin had to go for a traffic violation down in Gloucester County, in Gloucester City, and he said they announced it right up. They told him to come, and so they announced it goes criminal cases with attorney first, criminal cases without attorney second, traffic cases with attorney third, traffic cases without attorney last. So they told him to show up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. They didn't get around to his case until after 10 o'clock, and that's when the policeman walked in just 5 minutes before his case. So he knew when these things happened. My cousin had to sit around the courtroom for 4 hours.
Well, I mean that did happen to me in Hightstown.
Mm-hmm.
I got to experience that because of course I was fighting the system, as I would say. But of course I'm just trying to learn the system because I'm not a lawyer. Of course, we're going to be heading to commercial break soon. So just to finish up with Mark, we'll get back on what we were talking about. But Mark's an author. He's coming out with a new book called Government Indicted. I think he'll be talking about that. He's a radio show host at markstevens.net, a consultant and a voluntarist, which, of course, I see that all the time, a voluntarist. So I'm interested to hear what that really is because all I know in my life, of course, growing up is I'm a Democrat or Republican, but today I'm actually a Libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank the sponsors, Libertarian Party, the New Jersey Libertarian Party, for, of course, taking care of boys in their party.
Right. Actually, I knew that you joined the party because I'm the treasurer. And then I was going through
Yeah.
I was doing, closing out the books with the guy. There's there's a payment. Neil Schloss. Hey, Neil. There we go. So, yes, you're in. Welcome to the club, kid.
I know. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure. I know the party's not looking to, as Ron Paul said, we're here to spread the message. And if the message is right, then, hey, vote for a Libertarian. We're going to go to break now. If you'd like to call in, call at 609-800-1003. This is the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. This is the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
The warning signs.
First, he made me feel special. He promised he'd look after me, provide for my future. He broke every promise he made.
Millions of Americans afflicted.
I was ready to leave, but he told me he'd change. So I gave him another chance. I was such a fool.
The consequences.
Things only got worse. He started making my decisions for me. About my job, my kids' education, my money, my safety, my future. He took away my choices, but I kept going back to the same politicians.
The diagnosis? Battered voter syndrome.
I fell for the same old lies. They were just playing with my emotions, telling me what I wanted to hear. That's not right. Then I realized that I have the power, and there is an alternative.
Stop the cycle of political abuse. Vote Libertarian. Find out more at lp.org.
Are you feeling sluggish by lunch, or is the lunch you had making you feel sluggish? Do you play sports and need that extra push during the game? Are you a college student and need to stay up late to do those reports? Well, why not try Rebound FX by Longevity? Nowadays, you not only need a sports drink to provide you with quick, sustained energy, but you also need a drink that will supply you with the essential nutrients that need to be replenished to support an overall healthy body. Unlike other sports drinks, Rebound FX is a high-energy drink that offers a balance of antioxidants, natural herbs, and important minerals, including Longevity's plant-derived minerals blend. Rebound FX is rich in nutrients and antioxidants such as vitamins A, C, and E. It also contains high doses of essential B vitamins. And don't forget the Rebound FX Sports Energy Collection. Make sure that you're always equipped with fuel for exercise, long days at work, or any other activity requiring sustained energy. Rebound FX comes in a variety of blends to best suit your needs. You can keep some Rebound FX stick packs in your gym bag or purse while on the go, and cans or liquid supplements stored in your fridge. Rebound FX will always be at the palm of your hands for a natural energy boost. And don't forget, Rebound FX is more than just a sports drink, it's absolute performance. So purchase a Rebound right now on HamiltonRadio.net and click on Longevity's banner. When you purchase a Rebound, don't forget to buy some for your family, your friends, your teammates, and so on. Remember, Rebound is for everyone. A new advanced gym just opened right here in Hamilton, New Jersey. Primal Gym, New Jersey. They feature martial arts, combat sports, youth programs, strength and fitness, and private intense training. Primal Gym. Learn how to protect yourself in self-defense. Primal Gym is located at 2103 White Horse Mercerville Road, Hamilton, New Jersey, 08619. Again, that's 2103 White Horse Mercerville Road, Hamilton, New Jersey, 08619. Call them at 609-736-2307. Again, that's Primal Gym, New Jersey, PRIMALGYMNJ.com. Training everyday people to be champions.
This is the OnFire show on HamiltonRadio.net, Channel 2. We have a special guest in the house, Kevin Gilmartin. He is a Juris Doctorate, a JD, which means he went to law school, got graduated from college, and, of course, he sat for the bar, passed the bar, and he's now waiting to get admitted into the bar. So we hope that will happen soon for him. He's definitely been a help at Castle Consulting, which is my company that I started back in 1998. I think that's when I started that company. And I was an accountant working for two mid-sized accounting firms, gained a ton of experience for auditing, for taxation, for business consultation, for computer technology. I kind of was like diving into every group. Whichever one I can get into, I wanted to learn about it. So I left in 1998. I left and started Castle Consulting up in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm a Jersey boy through and through, born in Edison, Trenton State College graduate. Of course, moved to Hoboken after college, worked in Livingston. I have some clients in the city, but Jersey boy through and through. Live in Millstone, New Jersey these days. And like I said, it's been a fun journey. Today is the day that I think will mark history for America. Because, of course, with Mark Stevens coming on, my boy Kevin Gilmartin in the house. We are in for an exciting night of discussion. If you are joining us first time, you could join the chat room. Go to HamiltonRadio.net, click on HR chat room. You will come in as a guest, or actually, once you click on that, you'll see the OnFire show. Click on the OnFire show button. That'll bring you in as a guest. We'd love to have you in as a guest. We'd like to have you in as a user. If you want to have your name shown, and when I say name shown, it could be whatever name you want. We will you click on register. Ruben here, our producer, will approve you and get you logged in. So there are people from Arizona waiting for acceptance right now, Ruben. So please check the chat room because we have people from Arizona in the house.
Yeah, make sure they ask for their green cards, okay?
Yeah, can I get your green card before we accept you? We have Millstoner, Fred Weedow, Chicken Man.
Let everybody know to leave their comments on the listener response page.
If you like our show, and you know what, if you don't like our show, that's fine also. Please leave a comment because all comments are welcome. We don't stop you from writing to the press because it is your freedom. And speaking of freedom, Kevin, I'm telling you, will be participating in this conversation and hopefully feeding back stuff that I've done that he knows that he might think that I'm out of my mind. But at the same time, I believe truly that man has rights to himself at all times, and no one has rights over that person, man or female.
Well,
So we got some activations. Central Virginia here, Steve, VA. Thank you for joining the chat room. Guests 41345. One hand free here. The other hand has a beer. Guest 38079. Hands free, baby. And, of course, guest 41345. Kick ass Neil, which hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Quick thing. On Facebook, I got friended. And, of course, I accepted this friend, Crystal. And just because I'm starting to get Facebook requests, which, of course, you could friend me, no problem. But she did text me and said, hey, thanks for the ad. And I was like, well, how do you know me? And she's like, I'm a listener. So I'm glad to know that I have one listener out there. I see Fred and Steve. Fred, I don't count you as a listener because you're a friend of mine. You got me into chicken hatchery and all that other stuff. And speaking of Fred, was at his house this weekend. And, dude, he's got over 100 chicks in his garage, just all set up perfectly to feed properly, to water properly. And his chickens are winning nationwide chicken shows.
Wow.
So, what's that? No, of course. Hold on, we got a caller. Call it in. Hello, caller.
Yes, it's Mark Stevens. I was calling for Neil.
Mark, you are actually on the show. Welcome to the OnFire show. You're here with Joe Ciano.
Hello, Mark.
You have
Hello. It seems like you cut out a little bit there. I hope that's not on the air.
no, I think you're on the air now, so
Oh, okay.
all right. And we have Kevin Gilmartin.
hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So, Mark, I just to give a quick synopsis from my end, it says on your site you are an author, which I think you wrote Government Indicted this year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. What's the other books that you've written?
Adventures in Legal Land.
And that's the only other one, correct?
Just those two.
All right. Mark is
Two more
also
than I
a
did.
radio show host, which is the markstevens.net website, correct?
That's it.
All right. He is a consultant, which everyone knows what consultants are, but a voluntarist. I've seen that with Adam Kokesh. I've seen it with a bunch of others, but haven't ever asked. Could you define that for people that are listening?
Sure. It's just a simple principle that that most people probably already, well, I'm sure already believe, is that all human interaction should be voluntary or not at all.
And that's it.
That's pretty much the whole philosophy.
Which is great. I mean, it's in a free market, like Francisco de Cunha says, it's value for value.
Is that a synonym for anarchist, or do you differentiate yourselves from the anarchist community somehow?
Anarchy is a little bit more to it. I consider myself just a run-of-the-mill anarchist, as I've been called before, in that not only should all human interaction be voluntary, but we reject the concept of leaders and the idea of a coercive government and social hierarchies. So not necessarily that all voluntarists would be against social hierarchies. As an anarchist, I am.
Yeah, I just thought it as a more palatable marketing term. Everybody likes voluntary. I think anarchy is a word that has been ruined to some extent. They think of Mad Max, and they think of motorcycle thugs driving through the town like killing babies and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wondered how the two fit together.
And
yeah, I depending on who I'm speaking with, I may just use use voluntarists. But for the most part, the last couple of years, I'm an anarchist. If someone has a problem with that, then I'll take the time, of course, to explain exactly what it is and kind of demonstrate that they're coming from it from a standpoint of ignorance, because they don't understand what the word means. That the most peaceful people out there are anarchists, but anarchists, just like any other man or woman, can be pushed to a point and oppressed to a point where they will strike back. Because as anarchists, we believe in in self-defense, the non-aggression principle, which voluntarists, of course, adopt, we believe in self-defense, that aggression is always wrong, but self-defense is always morally justified.
Well, and I think you, Mark, you brought up a good point, and you mentioned the word ignorance, and I think that goes pretty deep into some of the things that I've watched on your site. In addition to one of the points Neil was making earlier when he said that he had tried to gain as much knowledge as he could in order to take on some of the things. And I just recently watched the publication where your friend was dealing with the IRS. And that I think is what probably is the most important thing, and I think it was Einstein that said the important thing is to never stop questioning. So I think the knowledge base is really, if you wouldn't mind getting into kind of your, how you started, where you started, how you got the knowledge to kind of battle the IRS and take on some of the other, battles you have. I think that would help the ordinary person maybe even gain the confidence in order to do that.
Sure, and that's one of the things that I want people to be able to take away anytime they listen to the show or go to the website or hear me on a show like this. That is to have to know that at my website that there are tools available that people can use and can learn how to defend against these predators when they attack you. And yes, it is an attack, and they tend not to like that word, but a criminal no criminal or psychopath likes their dirty deeds being aired for everyone. So that's why it's funny when IRS agents will claim that there's no coercion involved. You should see things from my side. Open your eyes, man. But they can not only get the tools necessary to be able to defend against these predators, but they can see that other people, regardless of the physical location, whether it's in U.S., Canada, Australia, England, or New Zealand. We've even had success in Poland. And we've had a lot of success also with someone who runs the No State Project in Israel by just basically taking what is being presented to you. So I noticed, even I went through this years ago, going through the whole Patriot kind of thing, that you see what's effective because you're actually on the ground with the boots on and you're engaging them. So you see what actually is effective and what's not. And so what I started doing was just whittling away what was not effective, and what seemed to be the most effective was to just take the accuser's arguments that they're using against me and just simply feed it back to them in the form of a question and ask them what evidence that they're actually relying on to support the arguments that they're using. So whether it's traffic or taxes, whatever the argument, whatever the attack is, they're using the same base argument. So what I noticed a number of years ago was that the same argument was being used regardless of the physical location. It's always the same, and they will always agree that this is the way they operate. And many examples on my website where their base argument or presumption is if you're physically in New Jersey, like I think some of you guys are in New Jersey, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's We're all here. Mm-hmm.
So if you're physically in New Jersey, then the Constitution and the laws of the state government apply to you. So if you cross over from Long Island or however we get into Jersey, I can't remember the tunnel, even if you're in New Jersey, physically, okay, just strip out all the political garbage, physically, in New Jersey for even 5 minutes. For those 5 minutes, the entire body of law applies to you. They'll tell you that. So I just distilled it down to the simplest way that I know so far, and maybe it'll be simpler a year from now, but it was, okay, that's your argument. If I'm physically in New Jersey, then the Constitution laws apply to me. Great. That forms the basis of their argument that the laws apply to you and they have jurisdiction to do whatever they want to you. So you just basically ask them, well, what evidence, what facts do you have to support that argument? And there's none. Zero. It's just an argument. In fact, I have someone here in Tempe on video, a local bureaucrat, admitting they have jurisdiction because they said so.
Yeah, no, and I've questioned that. I mean, I had an IRS agent in my office, Mark, and I said to them, listen, I want to make this a friendly debate because, of course, I know the general thing is there's a little fear, intimidation going on. One person's trying to show their power over you. And I said to the agent, I said, look, I got to make this friendly because I got some serious questions I got to ask you. And at the same time, I want you to take me serious, but at the same time, I got to really, it's like give them a drink so they can loosen up a little bit because of the general dealings between the two. I do feel that tension in the room when you have agents on one side of the table and you're on the other. So I said to her, look, can I do a magic trick to you? And, of course, I had a Constitution deck, Mark. The Constitution deck is ace through 10 was redone to be 1 through 10, which are your first, the Bill of Rights. So every card, if you get a the one card, it's going to have the First Amendment on. If you get the second card, it's the Second Amendment. And then the face cards and the Joker cards and the sign cards, the symbols, there were 18 of them, which were Article 1, Section 8, so it has the powers vested to enumerate the government. So I had her pick Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, because as a magician, I can force someone to pick a card, Mark. So I actually had her pick that card, had her read it and say, can you please explain to me what this is, because this is the law of the land. It supersedes any laws that I know. If you work the ladder of command, that the Constitution has to be the highest law, because under Article 6, Section 2, it states that. And with the ratification, quote, by the states, you accept that as the highest law of the land. So, and Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, I said, just shows very limited land given to you to rule over, and anything outside that land is not your land. It's the state's lands, or it's the people's lands. So how do you have rights to come onto my property and try to enforce your whatever code on people that I try to defend? And you know what she said, Mark?
I'm surprised she even engaged you with this.
Well, she did, because I'm a CPA. I'm here to represent clients to the best of my ability, to the best of my knowledge. And, of course, like I said, with Kevin here.
I think you got her with the magic.
I got her with the magic. Yeah. But she goes, I don't even know. I don't know the answer. I said, well, do you mind finding out that answer for me? Because if you can find out that answer, I will know definitively by law that you guys have powers beyond your land. And it went back and forth, and it ended up I filed paperwork in Ocean County. Ocean County got sued by the United States of America. Scott, the clerk, got sued. And I got sued. I got sued because they wanted to erase my document. That's all they wanted to do with me, is erase the document. So I've had some fun fights with the IRS, and I want to get more into the detail of your stuff, because I love the way you speak to them. And Kevin has questions also, because the more men of the minds that come on the radio and talk about this, the more the listeners start getting the confidence to defend themselves. And they do have that ability to defend themselves, because it's not arms, weapons that the Second Amendment protects. It's the right to always defend yourself no matter what, under whatever means. And as my son said, with your arms intact. So, but anyway, so to get back to you, Mark, so tell me about this video with this jurisdictional win. It ended up being that the client's 2008 through 2013 returns were closed with him not owing them anything. So can we go into that, Mark?
Sure, of course, and I would direct those, because I know some people were asking me, and it was just one of those weeks. I did not include the actual document that I wrote or helped write that led to them dropping everything. So I did get that. I redacted the information like on the other documents, and I did post one of the documents that we had sent. So if you go to markstevens.net, you go look for that article that was just a week or so ago. Then you can see the actual document that we wrote. And with this client, he's a friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time, and we've had a lot of phone calls, and something is in one of the courts. Unfortunately, they filed into the tax court, and it's been a complete train wreck. But from the train wreck, we were able to get admissions from the IRS attorney named Michael Rakin, admitting that there wasn't a shred of evidence. They admitted it 3 times in writing that they didn't have evidence. So basically what they do is they trick people into going into the tax court so that they can try to get evidence through the discovery process, which only works one way, by the way. They will force you to give them documents and information, but the IRS won't give you anything relevant, nothing.
And speaking of that, Mark, sorry to interrupt you on that. It is. I think there's a Supreme Court case that government agencies have to reply to the individual, the citizen, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that they are under the law, which is the Constitution, that requires them through the case laws that have to supply information back to you. Otherwise, they're not redressing your grievance, which is a First Amendment right that they're violating.
It sounds good, but in practice, that is absolutely not the way it works out. And in my experience, the IRS has never been held to the requirements for discovery ever.
Well,
We've even had an agent. The rules just don't apply to them.
Right. Well, and I think
we had an agent in Wyoming, and yes, I know we did not prevail there. Although the man I was working with, Mark, another guy named Mark, we still met our objective. But we had the agent declared incompetent to testify by the judge while he was on the stand. They still took the testimony anyway. The judge, in a fit of absolute rage, was screaming. He was so mad at what had happened because he impeached the witness for us, and then he didn't want to strike the testimony. So like a little girl, a little baby, a little 5-year-old girl, he started screaming at Mark about having him deported. Mark looked up in complete shock and was surprised because he said, "Well, I'm from Wyoming. You're going to give me a ride home? Where are you going to?" It's just a little, look. He was a psychopath throwing a little sissy fit because he got caught, basically acting as the IRS's attorney and would not apply the rules. Because none of the rules apply to the IRS, and you have to remember that going into it.
But
in practical terms, 9 times out of 10, they are going to do whatever the hell they want, and they will never hold the IRS and their attorneys to any burden of proof.
But there's also a reason behind that, I think, Mark, and it goes to how you said that they don't respond via, through the mail or won't answer questions in paper, because once they either make a ruling on that or once they do respond through their paper, then they're going to be pigeonholed into that response. So if I was the IRS, I would avoid any response as well, which is why when you stated that you had kind of gone into their arena and defeated them, that's what intrigued me about you, because most people would try to, circumvent the rules or find a loophole. You kind of went in there and battled them right, David and Goliath right in the arena, which I think is something that, needs to be addressed in the show, only due to the fact that it's not something that many people would feel comfortable doing due to the fact that the arena is so skewed in their favor.
Yeah, and more on that, and I have on the website absolute proof of the double standard, where I can show you the documents that a federal magistrate in Minnesota held that it was okay for the U.S. attorney to file nothing but conclusory statements, absolutely nothing but conclusory statements, then turned around and lied when we pointed out and actually quoted the IRS agent's statements. And he said, well, they were conclusory statements and could not be accepted as true, which he just lied. So the standard that no conclusory statements only applied to the guy who made statements of fact. I mean, it is even when the judge, when the guy who was addressing the U.S. attorney and saying, where are the facts to prove the Constitution laws apply to me and that there's any jurisdiction here whatsoever? The judge just makes a show of it and says, well, Mr. Wilhelm, do you have any evidence? He said, I don't have anything, Your Honor. And even admitting he doesn't have any evidence at all in open court in front of all those witnesses, the judge didn't care. It didn't matter because burden of proof doesn't apply to the U.S. attorney. And anyone who tells you that the U.S. attorney has to actually make and prove jurisdiction in a federal court is lying to you, because it's not how it works. At least it's not that way when it's a government that is attacking you. If the government is the so-called plaintiff, which is just a fictitious plaintiff, when the U.S. attorney does file claiming to be the United States of America, he doesn't actually have a client, in no circumstance that I have ever seen, been a part of, has the U.S. attorney ever been held to the burden of proof to put facts on the table to prove that there's jurisdiction. Not one single instance. So the only reason why I can go in and other people can go in and get these things tossed out is because there's still a hint of shame left with these psychopaths, these predators, because we go in, we methodically destroy the prosecution's entire argument, and they can't make it look good. Now, of course, you've got the psychopaths that just don't care and flippantly tell you, go after yourself, I'll kill it.
Yeah, that's
it strikes me. Yeah, it strikes me. I mean, you're talking about the IRS, but it strikes me that in the entire body now of regulatory law that we have, which seems to be the largest part of the Federal Register, where Congress has created an agency, and the agency creates regulations, not voted upon statute passed legislation. That due process is often totally bypassed in those situations where the agency itself is king, judge, and jury.
Well, one of the most famous terms of administrative law is arbitrary and capricious. So, I mean, that should tell you exactly what that law is based upon to an extent when that's its largest terminology, or one of the largest terms. Yeah,
and Mark, when we come back, we're going to ask you if we should do a class action lawsuit against the United States of America, what you think about that. And again, besides that, we have Mark Stevens on the phone. We have Kevin Gilmartin in the house, who works at my office at Castle Consulting. And we have, of course, Joe Ciano. We're going to go on a break right now. If you'd like to call 609-800-1003 if you have a question for Mark, Kevin, myself, or Joe. This is the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net. We'll be right back. Be right back. This is the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
If you want whole foods and more natural products while making your family healthier, visit 2285475.myforevergreen.org. That's 2285475.myforevergreen.org. Do it today.
Over 500,000 American men are in prison today for nonviolent crimes. Many billions of your tax dollars are spent to keep them there. If this is not your idea of how to support the American family, you just might be a libertarian. To find out, call 1-800-ELECT-US and ask for a free information packet. That's 1-800-ELECT-US. The information is free. Your freedom is priceless.
NJLP.org is a libertarian party that's for liberty and freedom. To learn more about the New Jersey Libertarian Party and join the fight for liberty, please visit NJLP.org. At NJLP.org website, you can get updated news on what NJLP.org is doing, check for upcoming events near you, and learn how you can help NJLP.org. And again, that's NJLP.org. This ad is paid for by the New Jersey Libertarian Party, the party of principle.
Meet Glenn Kelly.
You can see there are hardwood floors throughout the home. Is that Glenn Kelly? Hey, Glenn!
Glenn is broker of record of Glenn Kelly Real Estate. Glenn's experience and determination makes him a top-producing realtor year after year. Whether residential or commercial, buying or selling, there's no one like Glenn Kelly.
I'm Glenn Kelly, and I want to be your realtor.
Call Andrew Martino, Farmers Insurance, for all your insurance needs. Mr. Martino will give you the professionalism you expect from an experienced insurance agency. With Farmers Insurance, you will get the maximum coverage at competitive pricing. For a quick quote, contact Andrew Martino at 609-256-3364. 609-256-3364. Email Andrew at andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. That's ANDREW.ALBRIGHT@farmersagency.com. And Facebook, Andrew at Andrew Martino of Farmers. That's ANDREWMARTINO of Farmers. Mention this ad to Andrew to let him know you heard this right here on HamiltonRadio.net.
Feeling down, depressed, just don't feel like getting out of the house anymore? Well, do it anyway! Sounds like it's time. Ticketstime.com, that is. Ticketstime.com has tickets for sports, concerts, and theater just waiting for you to buy. Did your favorite concert sell out? We have tickets at Ticketstime.com. Did you miss your favorite team's last game? Don't miss the next one. Log on to Ticketstime.com. Is there a play you've been dying to see but haven't had the time? Well, make the time at Ticketstime.com. Everyone needs some relaxation time, so remember to make some time at Ticketstime.com.
Welcome back to the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net. We're back. This is the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net, channel HR2. We have special guest Mark Stevens from MarkStevens.net. He's a radio show host and author, and he just has been really fighting hard against the IRS. So we have definitely a lot of good questions from us. But, of course, we'd like to hear from our listeners. If you're a listener and you have a question for Mark, please call in to 609-800-1003. Again, 609-800-1003. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to join the conversation, go to the chat room at HamiltonRadio.net. Click on chat room. Click on the OnFire icon, and you'll come in as a guest. If you'd like to register, please register, and Ruben here will approve you. We do have some people in the chat room. Of course, we got Bert Eichhorn. Welcome, Bert. Appreciate you listening in, Bert. We got Fred, my boy Freddie from Millstone, my chicken man. And again, we have Steve from Virginia, and we do have a guy in the chat room from Africa. How cool is that,
That
boys?
is great. Worldwide.
We're international. We are internationally known. And how's that song go? I'm not internationally known.
But I'm known to rock the microphone, I think.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yet to be determined, I think.
Let's get back to Mark, because Mark has a lot of information to give out. During the break, Mark was asked questions. Kevin, I want you to ask your question to Mark.
All right. Mark, I think since you have such a positive history in terms of battling against various agencies, the main thing that our listeners and we would like to know from your point of view is when you do go and battle, the IRS or any municipal agency, what have you found are the strengths to what you've been doing? What have you found to be the weaknesses? Because I feel like until you know the enemy's strengths and your own weaknesses, you're never, going to be able to bring the toughest battle that you can. So what in your history have you found to be the biggest strengths and the biggest weaknesses?
Well, one of the biggest weaknesses is people talk too much, and every affirmative statement that you make, they will use against you. They absolutely will use that against you. Every document that they force you on a threat, duress, and coercion to sign, they will use against you. If you have a driver's license, even though it's under threat, duress, and coercion, if you start raising the issue about, hey, where's your evidence, your constitutional laws apply to me, and there's jurisdiction, they're going to, well, do you have a driver's license? They will try to use. Now, we'll talk about how that's not an issue at all because it's under threat, duress, and coercion. It presupposes the argument that they're using, but that's a big one. So what you want to keep in mind is you should just be asking questions of evidence that your accuser's arguments are based on. That should be it. You have nothing personal to say. Who gives a damn where you live? Well, do you live in New York? I don't know. It's not the question. The question is, what facts do you have? So they'll try to engage you and ask you questions so that you'll do the work for them. I give them nothing. So if I call and I'm talking to the IRS or I'm talking to the Franchise Tax Board in California, they'll say, well, does your client live and work in California? Objection. That's not the question. Because they've already put their argument out as the basis for the attack against you. Unless they want to admit it's arbitrary, you have nothing to say. The other thing, too, is not only you asking questions, but what really helps you with the questions is you cannot have any sacred cows. You can't go in thinking, oh, the Constitution is this, that, the other thing, and wow, that's great, the social contract, and we got this, and we got that, and with the protection from this. No. Do not assume for a second the Constitution applies to you, me, or anyone else, because I tell you, if you do 5 minutes worth of investigation and questioning, you'll come to the same realization that me and thousands of others have. There is no evidence whatsoever that applies to anybody, so don't do yourself a disservice by going in and accepting a sacred cow. The other thing, so those are some big ones. Don't be afraid to question the basis of their authority. I mean, they claim that they have authority, except for a willingness to kill me and a willingness to use aggression. What is the basis of your authority? And really what it comes down to is, and when you put it in modern language, or you maybe with a slight mocking tone that you would get from a New Yorker like myself, is, do you really believe that a 220-year-old written instrument gives you power over me today? Is that what you're telling me as an adult? You believe that? but that's what people assume when they go into these. So my position is, I don't care if they call it admin, or I don't care what they're labeling it. I look at the facts. I've got some individuals who are using aggression and threats against me, and their arguments are, because I'm physically in New York or New Jersey, that these laws, whether they're administrative regulations, whether they're local regulations or whatever, that they apply to me. And so I attack that argument. And to me, in my experience, it has been the most effective. Doesn't mean it's always going to get tossed out. This is dealing with predators. So you can watch me do this. I'm on video helping a friend, Ian Freeman of Free Talk Live, at an admin hearing. And I never have to talk about any specific statutes or regulations or that it's an admin proceeding. I just address the prosecutor's argument that got me here in the first place. And that argument is, since Ian is physically in New Hampshire, the constitutional laws apply to him. If you watch, she doesn't say a single word in her own defense for the entire hour before they get fed up and cut me. Not one time does she say one word or present a single fact to support her argument. In fact, for all the haters who think that I didn't accomplish anything, I got a seasoned administrative hearing officer, the psychopath Michael King, to actually yell at me, I don't need the facts.
So what do you need?
Right.
You want the fakeness? You want the bullshit?
Well,
what do you want?
And I think you brought up a good point, Mark, and that's the assumption that the document that was written 200 plus years ago still has the same application, and people just assume that it does, because if that was the case, then we'd still be a monarchy, and that document written 200 and plus years ago wouldn't even matter. So I think people's own lack of desire to fight, or maybe own ignorance, is coming back to bite them. What I do see and what I do hear a lot now, though, is people willing to take on the fight, or thinking that they get taxed too much, or thinking the government is in their pocket. And I hope it doesn't have to get worse before people will take the fight on themselves.
Yeah, and if you have a question for Mark, please call in to 609-800-1003. If you don't have a question for Mark, but of course have a comment, and actually do want to state it on the radio, Mark, we got about 10 more minutes with you. Then, of course, we can have a guest call in, make a comment. So.
Right, since Kevin brought up the 200-year-old document, and we had talked about this before, and we were starting earlier in the show, that 200-year-old document, which, a lot of libertarians and conservatives revere, also had some mischievous things in it, like a commerce clause and a general welfare clause that some people saw as the seeds for its ultimate corruption, and therefore opposed it back in the 1780s and the 1790s when this was the hot topic of debate. So I wonder what your thoughts on it were, Mark. If you were back then wearing short pants and long stockings and a tri-cornered hat, would you have been a supporter of the Constitution, or would you have been on the other side supporting either the Articles of Confederation or something else entirely?
I would have advocated for the moral position, which was anarchy, and that it is, and see, one of the probably the single worst clause that is in the Constitution is the one that they had the power to tax. The idea that a group of men in 1787, that a group of men in 1787 could write things down on a piece of paper and have it apply to everybody else. And so what people really lose sight of is the fact that the having a government, period, regardless of what kind of government is always based on the same violence to get, for the collection of its support, the so-called taxation. And so I wouldn't have supported them because I look at it this way. Look, if I was to force people to give me money, would you consider me a criminal?
Of course.
Of course you.
Absolutely.
Isn't government, even in 1777 or 1789, isn't government just men? And now it's men and women that are forcing us to pay them. I mean, that's provable. To me, it's irrefutable. It's one of the few things we can actually prove that it's absolutely certain. Government is just men and women forcing us to pay them. Everything else is just window dressing and public relations. And if we take our eye off that, and we start looking at things about certain clauses of the Constitution instead of looking at the application. So that's one thing I never do when I discuss these things with these tax agents. They'll say something like, I'll ask them for evidence the Constitution code apply just because Chris is physically in, let's say, New Jersey, or Eric is physically in New Jersey as he was at one time, and all they can do is come back and, well, the 16th Amendment. Well, that doesn't answer the question. The 16th Amendment is part of the Constitution. What evidence of facts do you have that this written instrument, whatever it's called, what evidence you have that it applies to me at all just because I'm physically in New Jersey? And that, to me, whether I'm dealing with a tax agent or a traffic or a judge or it doesn't matter who's making that argument that it does apply to me. They can't produce a single fact to show that it does. Well, I even have on the website, I spoke with a Libertarian magistrate in Phoenix, and he admits that the application of federal law, well, all law, is arbitrary. I even had someone recently in British Columbia say, it's a generally accepted principle. Oh, okay, but do you have any actual evidence? That's your opinion, it's generally accepted. But where's the evidence? And that's where it all falls flat. Application will always be more powerful than interpretation because there's 1,000 ways to interpret it, and your way is always going to be rejected as opposed to what the IRS says it means.
Well, Mark, I think that goes to the fact that they believe that they have absolute power, and we all know what absolute power does. So if that, that's, I think, the starting point of your argument, and really where your argument has its strength is pointing out to them with just requesting evidence that their absolute power that corrupts absolutely doesn't even exist.
Well, the power to kill me exists. But they don't like to think. But I agree with you. In their minds, that this magical document from 1789 gives them power over me, and that in reality, it's just a willingness to kill me. It's just a willingness to use aggression and get what they want. But yes, when you go and you just ask the questions, you pull that reality out from under them. Their map of the world is grossly inaccurate, and by asking these questions, they start to realize that all they have is the guns. Which a few of them have actually admitted that. In fact, in New Hampshire, with someone I'm working with, the Martin Jenkins, the head of the Labor Department, and anybody can look him up on the internet and call him, and he'll confirm it. When I asked him for evidence, he couldn't produce it, and he came down and said that the fact is we have more power than Bill. If he doesn't comply, we have more power than him. That's the fact.
Hey, Mark, you'll like this. We had one where a client came in 2 years after being under audit, asked us for our help. We called just to ask them 2 years under audit, send us your evidence, so at least we could work from that point forward. And the auditor kind of just waited and said, I don't really have any evidence. And Kevin was on the call with that one. So, Kev, what did the auditor say to you?
Well, I asked him then what the basis of the audit was, and his response to me at that moment was a gut feeling. So I guess that indicates the type of power that they do think they have when they can audit someone's business and personal tax returns off of a gut feeling.
The law changes with whatever he had for lunch that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mark, the follow-up call, of course, because Kevin took that call, was the auditor called me because I was under power of attorney, and I said, look, Kevin is an associate of mine. He actually is discussing with you pretty much discovery, because I don't want to waste my time doing discovery, because I know you guys don't really have any evidence. You guys are just using the rule of force against us. And I said, so why don't you tell me what you said to Kevin? Because I didn't want to tell him what Kevin said. I kind of want to corroborate the evidence, right? And he says, yeah, I don't really have anything. So I was like, doesn't a Fourth Amendment right, I mean, if we're going to go constitutional law, protect the client? If you have nothing, no reasonable, no probable cause,
well, technically they don't need probable cause, but having no cause whatsoever, I think, is a big enough win for us. And to this day, we're still awaiting either a list of evidence or a reason behind what's going on. So
yeah. Hey, and Mark, there's a question from the chat room. So of course, if you're listening to the show, join the chat room at hamiltonradio.net. Click on the chat room. Click on the OnFire button, and then you'll join us as a guest. If you like your name shown up, please register. Mark, the question comes from guest 87101. Has the Department of Justice figured out if a suit by the IRS is a contract dispute or a tort yet?
You broke up pretty bad on that. Could you repeat that?
No problem. Has the Department of Justice figured out if a suit by the IRS is a contract dispute or a tort yet?
That's a great question. Sounds like somebody who's listened to my show before. I actually, like going back to what we said before, how the rules don't apply. Every time we have raised that issue on a standard motion for more definite statement, the judge has stepped in and absolutely denied it. No questions asked, no explanation, nothing, absolutely nothing. So it's a devastating question to ask them, and they're not going to answer it. So we have no answer to that yet.
Now, do you do the paper trail? Do you do paper trails, like a certain order of operation for filings, or is it mostly the calls that you're working through?
Well, I like to have a paper trail, so we have some evidence. So on that latest one where we had the 6 years worth thrown out, there is a paper trail, and we have, unfortunately, the recordings, we never actually got to a human being, and that's why we could only do it on paper, which is very important, of course, if it's going to be escalated. And what we were able to do is reference other agents we had spoken to and their attorney, Michael Reagan, of course, who had admitted 3 times in writing to not having evidence. So I think it's a very good idea to always follow up in writing. But I like the idea, and it's just maybe it's a thing with me. I like to be able to confront somebody in real time, because I'm from New York, and probably like New Jersey guys, you can smell BS a mile away. And I want to be able to call somebody on it now. And most of the bureaucrats are really poor at spinning BS on the fly, and it really gets embarrassing. And that's usually where I get my statements and admissions that I can then use against them to get it thrown out, like we did this last one, like we've done so many times before. So I like to do both: confront them in real time on the phone, use their statements against them when you follow up in writing and you ask for your abatement.
Mark, we have a few more minutes before I have to take on the next caller, but Ruben here from the producers has some questions.
Hi, Mark. How you doing? Ruben Rodriguez here, producer. How you doing?
Doing great.
Great. I have one question because I know your time is limited. Talking about the BS and the bureaucracy of our government, what do you feel about the Obamacare? Because I'm totally against it, and Obama is going to be fining people $350 this year for not applying to Obamacare, and I'm totally against it. I never signed up for it, and I refuse to sign up for it.
And a quick stat here: there's roughly 319 million people in the U.S. Approximately 11 million have signed up for Obamacare, so that's give or take 3%. So I don't think it's met its goals yet, but I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
Sure. Oh, yeah, cool.
So, Mark, what do you think?
What do you think?
Well, again, as a run-of-the-mill anarchist, I'm opposed to the whole concept of government. It's contradictory, and I think that they are just men and women who are forcing us to pay them. So regardless of what act or law or ordinance or whatever it happens to be, to me, from a moral standpoint, it's always going to be immoral, and I would oppose it. Oh. The whole thing. The whole concept. So I just don't see, where, I guess for discussion to focus on one particular thing that they're forcing us to do, but it's the whole concept of government that's contradictory. The idea that somebody is going to use threat, duress, and coercion, in order to protect you. That's not how normal people operate. That's how psychopaths operate. And I just want to point out, I don't necessarily call them psychopaths to their face. But
that's probably a good.
On my website. I mean, I'll be very blunt with them, and I might do it in a roundabout way, and I'll say, well, just like that Martin Jenkins, and I'll say, wow, so your position just might makes right. Sounds like you're channeling Mao Zedong. Or I'll say things like, well, it sounds like you have a real callous disregard for the rights of others, and that you don't like being challenged on your arguments. So I'm using the basis or the elements of psychopathy, and I'm just not using the word. I'm using the personality flaws that they're exhibiting without actually saying psychopath. Anybody who listens to my show is familiar with psychopathy and psychopaths or antisocial behavior knows exactly what I'm doing. And it elicits usually a response from them that tends to be favorable to us getting something thrown out. But, yeah, you don't want to go in and call them,
Right. Well, name calling. I think people learned not to name call, right around age 5. Probably doesn't get you anywhere. So
yeah. Well, Mark, listen, I appreciate you calling in. Of course, I want you on again. We could talk probably for hours and hours on this topic. Of course, we want our audience to appreciate what Mark Stevens is doing out there. He is a liberty fighter. He believes in what is right versus what is wrong. And I thank you for coming on, Mark. Again, you're welcome. We can try to set up another call-in and keep discussing this topic. The goal is to win and get your freedom back. The goal is that individuals have rights over any government agency, jurisdictionally or anything. They were creations from us. They can't take powers over us. So, any last comment, Mark? And then I got a bump. So.
Hey, I appreciate the opportunity there, guys, and a big shout out to Eric for getting it, working behind the scenes and getting it set up. I appreciate the opportunity again. MarkStevens.net, the new book, of course, is Government Indicted, where I lay out I indict the concept of government, no one in particular, but the concept, and it's to go through the incredible psychological damage and the economic damage caused by the concept. And then the last half of the book is a model for actually working to defend yourself and learning how to defend yourself to limit the damage that these predators want to do to you.
Well, thanks for coming on, Mark. I appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us 45 minutes of your time. And hopefully we'll have you on real soon, okay?
You're welcome. I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thanks again.
Thanks, brother. That was Mark Stevens, MarkStevens.net. Great guest. Of course, every week we try to get the best guests on. These are people I've heard through YouTube, through friends of friends, of just the instant messages on Facebook that says, dude, check this person out. Those are the people that intrigue me and hopefully are intriguing you, the listeners. We're really excited about our show. We're going to go on a break right now so that Jordan can call in. If you'd like to call us, call, of course, 609-800-1003. Jordan, if you're listening, of course, just hung up on the last caller, so please call in, and I will we'll be right back. We'll be right back. This is the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
Hamilton Radio. Hamilton Radio.
Nothing could be finer than to sell more cotton and peanuts to international markets like Cuba. But Cubans can't buy your products because our politicians won't let them sell their sugar here. In fact, Americans pay 5 times the world price on sugar. If you think that protective tariffs make no sense, then you just might be a libertarian. To find out, call 1-800-ELECT-US and ask for a free information packet. The information's free. Your freedom is priceless.
NJLP.org. is a libertarian party that's for liberty and freedom. To learn more about the New Jersey Libertarian Party and join the fight for liberty, please visit njlp.org. At njlp.org website, you can get updated news on what njlp.org is doing, check for upcoming events near you, and learn how you can help njlp.org. And again, that's njlp.org. This ad is paid for by the New Jersey Libertarian Party, the party of principle.
Whether you're challenged with dry, brittle, flaky skin, oily skin, or your skin is simply dull and lifeless, I've got a great skincare line for you. It's called Tazati, T-A-Z-A-T-I. At Tazati.com, you can order products online that are so pure and natural, your skin will come alive with radiance and vitality. You see, Tazati organic skincare products use deep, hydrating moisturizers with natural elements like aloe vera, olive squalene, and shea butter, rich and proven to replenish your skin, yet never greasy. Also, if you suffer from adolescent or menopause acne, you can shop online for Tazati's gentle two-step cleanser, which heals acne by balancing your pH, ultimately putting a stop to skin eruptions for a clean, clear complexion. And the popular Vanishing Elite product can be applied to your face and neck to help combat dark spots for a smooth, even complexion. Place your order today and see what a few of the many satisfied Tazati customers are saying. Go to Tazati.com.
Are you feeling sluggish by lunch, or is lunch you had making you feel sluggish? Do you play sports and need that extra push during the game? Are you a college student and need to stay up late to do those reports? Well, why not try Rebound FX by Longevity? Nowadays, you not only need a sports drink to provide you with quick, sustained energy, but you also need a drink that will supply you with the essential nutrients that need to be replenished to support an overall healthy body. Unlike other sports drinks, Rebound FX is a high-energy drink that offers a balance of antioxidants, natural herbs, and important minerals, including Longevity's plant-derived minerals blend. Rebound FX is rich in nutrients and antioxidants such as vitamins A, C, and E. It also contains high doses of essential B vitamins. And don't forget the Rebound FX Sports Energy Collection. Make sure that you're always equipped with fuel for exercise, long days at work, or any other activity requiring sustained energy. Rebound FX comes in a variety of blends to best suit your needs. You can keep some Rebound FX stick packs in your gym bag or purse while on the go, and cans or liquid supplements stored in your fridge. Rebound FX will always be at the palm of your hands for a natural energy boost. And don't forget, Rebound FX is more than just a sports drink, it's absolute performance. So purchase your Rebound right now on HamiltonRadio.net and click on Longevity's banner. When you purchase your Rebound, don't forget to buy some for your family, your friends, your teammates, and so on. Remember, Rebound is for everyone.
Welcome back to the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net. We're back. This is Neil Schloss. I'm the host, and we're here with
Joe Ciano
and
Kevin Gilmartin.
So Kevin's joining us for the first time. I appreciate him coming so that we can, of course, hear Mark Stevens talk about the IRS and the cases that he's been working on. Of course, Kevin has some great stories. And, of course, I hope that Kevin comes back on more shows because he definitely is a bright, young kid. And I call him a kid because, of course, anyone younger than me at this point is a kid to me.
I will be a kid for as long as I possibly can.
Yes.
That works for me.
Yes.
And now that he's getting some publicity, he'll get plenty of job offers, and the price is going to go up explicitly for you, Neil.
Yeah, well, if you...
That's the idea. Knock on wood.
Yeah, and if you do have questions, if you deal with any agencies of government and have legal questions, of course, you can call my office at 609-944-3444, option 4.
For the reason of logic, which is also known as Kevin.
Right. And, of course, I jokingly say we call him now Better Call Kevin, which is, of course, the play on Better Call Saul because, of course, Kevin understands it. He's learning every day. People like Mark Stevens, of course, is giving us more insight into different strategies because, of course, it's like a chess game. If you really learn the chess game right, you'll always win. And that's the goal of what my firm's trying to do and people like Mark Stevens. So very excited that having him on as a guest. I appreciated Eric for setting this up. And, of course, our listeners, I'm hoping you're enjoying the conversation. Of course, if you want to call in, 609-800-1003. If you like us, of course, like us on Facebook, The OnFire Show. If you are liking this show and want to hear old shows, how do we do that, Joe?
How do we do that? You can look at them on HamiltonRadio.net, right where you're listening to this show. You can go there. You can go to Blogger or OnFire Radio Show. You can go to Podomatic, you can go to iTunes, you can go to Stitcher. We've got shows all over the place. So usually iTunes, Podomatic, and the Stitcher are usually the newest 4 or 5. The older catalog is in some of these other places. Oh, we're on YouTube as well. And you can watch like a little movie, a slideshow movie, and you get to see pictures of us people. You don't get to see pictures of Kevin yet because we don't have a picture of him. So we'll get him.
Yeah, I'm more of a radio look, so we'll keep it radio.
Actually, he's a good-looking dude.
I think he's the best-looking
but
guy
of course
in the room,
he's
to tell you
not.
the truth. I mean, that's not saying much.
Yeah, just all the girls that are listening. Unfortunately, he is a taken man. He's married to a beautiful woman.
Shout out to my wife, Christina,
Yes.
and my sister, Erin.
Anyone else you want to give shout-outs to before
my-
we introduce our next guest?
I'll throw a quick shout out to my mother, my father, and my aunt listening in Staten Island, New York.
And how about your nephew and niece, of course, because that has to happen.
Yeah, well, now it does, or I'll get in trouble. Matthew and Caitlin Butch, hope you're asleep.
And be sure to thank the Academy, too, because we are pandering for awards.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And speaking of that, we want to, of course, thank our sponsor, the New Jersey Libertarian Party. Great bunch of guys and girls. They are having their
Annual convention.
Annual convention.
The end of March, if I should know the date, but it's the end of March. It's usually the Saturday
March-
after St. Patrick's Day.
March 21st, I think.
That would
is
be the
day.
Saturday after St. Patrick's Day.
And they have a great bunch of speakers that are going to be there.
Yeah, looking at me like I'm going to remember
Well,
that.
we'll get that to you also, but
But
again,
go to njlp.org. Easy to remember, njlp.org. Click on convention. You can see the speakers there. The price is reasonable, and it's in beautiful downtown Hightstown, New Jersey, which is right smack in the middle of New Jersey, about a half mile off of Exit 8. You cannot get lost going to this, although Kevin Parisi did.
Well-
Hi, Kev.
well, of course,
Real quick, got to throw out one more shout out
that's your last one.
to my super triathlete brother-in-law, Jason.
Oh, did he just text you to make you say that?
No, of course not.
No, of
he would
course
never
not.
do that.
No, he would never do that.
He's biking his way
Yeah.
over here right now. Just
All
get
right.
the record straight.
He's a lawyer. He's an attorney, so he's full of BS. So we know that's not true. But speaking of guests, we have a great guest that's coming on right now. He is a friend of mine. He was a big Ron Paul supporter. I had the privilege of seeing him at Webster Hall in New York City. I had the privilege of seeing him in Tampa, Florida, for a Ron Paul event. And, of course, he decided to show up at my office and perform. And I appreciate him coming out. His name's Jordan Page. He is the male voice for Ron Paul. A lot of his videos have Jordan's music on. And like I said, Jordan, I want to welcome you to the OnFire show.
Thanks for having me, buddy. It's good to be here.
Yes. So Jordan's been a musician, and when you say struggling musician, that's a musician's life. So first, of course, Jordan, introduce yourself, and then, of course, tell us where you're performing coming up. And then, of course, as we go along, hopefully we'll be getting you to come out to the East Coast. So take it away, Jordan.
Sure. Well, my name is Jordan Page. I've been a professional musician, my entire adult life, and around 2006, I had my aha moment and woke up to what's really going on in the world. I've been touring, nationally, internationally, spreading the message of liberty. I toured with Ron Paul, the presidential campaign trail. I did about, I think maybe 18, 19 shows with him. And some pretty major events, and developed a great national following, and so I tour all over the country, doing concerts, playing my original songs with the support of a lot of liberty-minded groups and political outreach organizations, and I like I said, I tour everywhere. Like this, I was just in California, and I'm about to go to. I have a tour this week. I'm actually leaving tomorrow for Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, then Ames, Iowa. I'm home for a week, and then I head to Colorado. And then I'm going to be in Texas. And then I may be going to France for the second 2 weeks of March to do some Liberty shows over there. So and then in April, I'm going to be all over the place. May, I'm probably looking at being back from the East Coast, so we could probably talk about it then.
Yeah, and of course, speaking of that, I'm trying to do it the right way. So if you are interested in having Jordan come out to the East Coast, of course, to New Jersey, you can email Deborah, Debora at Castle CPA. Put the header Jordan Page, and just tell them that you are interested in having him show up. Because of course, then we'll have a head count, and of course, if we can charge the right price so that it covers his costs. That's what Jordan always asks for, is to make sure that he at least covers his costs so that he can, of course, feed his family. And, of course, speaking of families, how many kids do you have, Jordan?
Well, I don't talk about that on the air, but I have a lot.
Well, he does have a lot.
I have a lot. I am the paterfamilias, and we're trying to outbreed the statists. We're doing our part, so I encourage all you liberty-minded folks out there to get someone pregnant. That's at the very least you can do. There's too many stupid people are breeding there, and we need to, all the smart folks who get it need to make more children to combat the culture of stupidity that we seem to have now.
Yeah. So Jordan, when it came to the wake up that you talked about, could we dive more into that so that people understand where you're coming from?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I was politically illiterate and pretty well asleep as an adult. Just had no idea what was really going on in the world. All the military conflicts that we were engaged in. I had no interest in knowing, their causes or their outcomes. I was just completely unmotivated, and had no interest in economics, domestic foreign policies. These ideas were just completely foreign to me, and I just wasn't raised in that sort of environment, and I wasn't given any vocabulary, and I had no motivation to learn. And December the 1st of 2006, I woke up in the middle of the night around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wrote a song in the dark in my office on the computer that was way over my head. It was way above my pay grade. And the song really was called Pendulum. And it kind of scared me, honestly, and it was full of these political messages and tones that I couldn't relate to. And I played the song live for an audience a few weeks after I wrote it, and I got a standing ovation from about 400 people at the Rams Head in Annapolis, Maryland. And I realized that all the people that were cheering for the song, they all knew what the song was about, but I didn't. And that was my aha moment. It wasn't writing the song; it was the moment where I realized that everybody in the audience knew what I was talking about, and I didn't know what I was talking about. And so I heard Bob Dylan's voice in my head that I'll know my song well before I start singing. So I committed to learning everything I could find, everything I could learn, and I became a research junkie and was reading books and reading articles and listening to lectures and speeches and watching documentaries, and in the course of all that, over about a year and a half, all the way to the winter of 2008. Or like the beginning of 2008, that's when I really started learning about Ron Paul. So Ron has been very good to me, and he's been very generous to me and my family, and he's included me in a lot of really historic events, and because he I guess he felt what I was doing was right in line with what he was doing. And it took me, it took no effort on my part to stand next to him on a stage. It was just that it took no compromise whatsoever. It was the easiest thing in the world to do. It was really refreshing to find out that there was a politician out there who wasn't full of crap and who believed the same things that I did. And so it was my honor and pleasure to support him, and he passed the torch to me. The first time I met him was July of 2008 at the Revolution March in D.C., and that was my very first Liberty event. And that was his very last event of that campaign. And that was the first time I shared the stage with him. And he didn't realize this that day, but he passed me a torch, and I just kept the fires burning from that day until it came time to campaign for him actively for 2012. And we've had a great relationship, and now I'm still keeping it alive, and still touring the country and keeping the troops validated and inspired, and trying to convert more uninitiated people to the ideals of liberty and self-ownership and non-aggression. And I'm very much an anti-war activist, a very outspoken anti-war activist, and I do my utmost to educate folks on what's really going on in the world. And I do it with music. Music is a great door opener.
This is Joe, and it's interesting to talk about the anti-war activists. Last week we had on, it was 2 weeks ago.
Adam Kokesh.
And he came to this movement, through the door of anti-war. And it's interesting that the last time there was a big social upheaval, I think, in this country was the 1960s, which was around, to a great extent around the Vietnam War. And I think that, that's a catalyst. Many of us came through, economics or some other things, but, a revulsion at war and what goes on around the world is a great place to enter, and people don't often think of libertarianism that way. They think about it as I'm out for myself and make a buck, kind of an Ayn Rand type of thing.
True. Well, it's like the left has traditionally been the anti-war faction. Unfortunately, they've also been the communist socialist faction as well. The great thing about being a libertarian or anarchist is that you get to be right all the time, not just some of the time. You get everything that's great about the anti-war left, you get to have that. Everything that's great about the pro Second Amendment right, you get to have that. I mean, but you get to leave behind all their BS and all their baggage, and operate on pure logic. And it's a very sort of central area to be. It's neither right nor left. It's just liberty. It's freedom. If it's not freedom, then I don't want it. So it's a very easy position to take, and it's ultimately the right one. And folks who finally see through the nonsense of their parties, their so-called parties, they end up in the Ron Paul liberty camp, and ultimately they, the end of that train of thinking, the bottom of that rabbit hole is the philosophy of anarchism or voluntarism, self-ownership and non-aggression principle. And ultimately that's where Adam is. And Adam was one of my, one of my folks early on who were very instrumental in helping me to see the fallacies in my early arguments. I used to, wave my Constitution in everyone's face, and this is the answer. And not that I, discount the Constitution, because as long as some people believe in it, it has value. But in essence, it's not the source of our freedoms. Our humanity, is the source of our freedoms. The fact that we are all children of our Creator is that's the source of our natural rights. The government doesn't give us our rights. The Constitution doesn't give us our rights. It just lists some of them. So, ultimately, it's up to us to stand up for our own liberty. And by and large, as a society, we've not done that. We've been asleep at the wheel, and we have let psychopaths and sociopaths direct the course of our future, and now we've let them grow into the largest terrorist organization on the planet. And it's high time that people start evolving beyond central authority, beyond the federal government. If we can evolve as a society, as a species, really, beyond this false idea that we need government in order to peacefully coexist, then we will start to see limited government. If you have anarchists in office, which is really something I advocate for, trying to get a lot of my anarchist friends to get over their hatred of the government and infiltrate it, that you actually will have limited government. Because right now all you have are statists arguing with other statists, and you just get more statism. It's a mental illness no different than liberalism is. And ultimately, it's a philosophical question, but it's a very practical one too, because statism itself is a destructive ethos, and the philosophy of anarchy, or we'll call it voluntarism, is ultimately peace. That's what it is. It's your rights end where mine begin, and vice versa.
Hey, Jordan. We have some questions from the chat room that I want to get to, because of course there are people who are on the chat room asking questions. So if you want to join in on this conversation, you can of course call into the show, ask Jordan a question yourself at 609-800-1003. You can also go on the chat room.
Where's the chat room, Neil? What's the website for the chat room?
If you go to hamiltonradio.net, and on the top of the website, you'll see HR chat room. If you click on that, click on the icon OnFire, that'll bring you in as a guest. If you want to join and actually have your name shown, then, of course, register. You'll be approved by Ruben, and then you can show up. We have, of course, about 20 users in the chat room. We'd love to grow it to about 1 million one day and make sure that this show is the best out there, discussing the topics that people should be listening to. And opening people's minds to information like Jordan said. If you're apathetic to this, you don't really care, you won't learn, it's not important to you, then the statists get away with what they're doing. But the questions, Jordan, were on about the beheadings in ISIS, how to deal with ISIS who are beheading people. And do you?
I can answer that question right now.
And
the way that you deal with the so-called terrorist group ISIS beheading people is stop paying your taxes, because your taxes are funding them. The U.S. government created ISIS. They fund them. They organize them. It's all wag the dog. It's a fictional entity. Yes, there are real people who are willing participants in this, who do have these radical, violent beliefs, and they are, doing this. But it's a creation of the Central Intelligence Agency. ISIS, Al Qaeda. These things are well documented. That they were created by the U.S. government. They are funded and organized by the U.S. government. It's all a ruse. It's everything about it is fake. I'm not saying that they're not cutting people's heads off, but it is. But even some of those videos are in question. It's you and I. We pay for our own slavery. We pay for this nonsense. This is like ISIS is right out of 1984. It's a boogeyman. Osama bin Laden was a boogeyman. These are characters that they create to make us afraid, so that we'll give up yet more of our liberties.
That's
what it is.
You're completely right.
I also have a radio show, and I interview a lot of whistleblowers. You guys should look up James and Joanne Moriarty, and their website is the LibyanWarTheTruth.com. Look them up. They were actually in Tripoli when NATO sent in 10,000 Al Qaeda operatives to mow everyone down. They killed 600,000 Libyans who were not being oppressed by Gaddafi, who was actually looked at as a like a savior to them. He was actually not a tyrant. Most of the killings that went on in Libya were CIA operations. Everything that you've been told about Libya is a lie. Everything you've been told about ISIS is a lie. Everything you've been told about Al Qaeda is a lie. It's all lies. It's all figments of the government's imagination, but they own the media, and the media has convinced you. That's what's going on here. It's all a lie. Our brothers and sisters are being fed into a meat grinder, which is of a big business agenda. This is just making money for the fat cats wearing the suits who control everything. This is it's a horrifying truth to comprehend. It's taken me a long time to even be able to accept that's what's actually going on. But once you finally realize it, You know, everything makes sense. The government is not incompetent. They are extraordinarily competent. But if you change the purpose, the statement of purpose of what the government is, all of a sudden everything makes sense.
Hey, Jordan, Kevin has a question for you.
Yeah, Jordan.
Sure.
Through your medium, which obviously music, which also can be looked at somewhat as propaganda to an extent. How do you use your music in terms of getting your message across? Because I've listened to some of your stuff. I obviously haven't heard everything, but I'm wondering how you put in your political identity into your music, and you know how you find that. Is that hard to do for you? Is it easy to do, and things of that nature?
It's like anything, you know. It's you just express yourself, you know, and what comes up comes out. Not every song that I write is a song about one particular issue. I might write a song about all different kinds of things. I have a song for my new album that's coming out soon called Sedition, and in Sedition I take on this concept of American exceptionalism, that we can do no wrong no matter how many people we kill. You know, I take on the banking cartels, the mainstream media, the indoctrination camps, also known as government schools, and the apathy of the American people, you know, all in one song. It's a lot of topics in one song. But I also have another song called Arm Yourselves, which is a very straightforward issue.
Right.
You know, and it's all about, you know, protecting yourself from the force of the state, and you know, holding true to your values and to your beliefs, and fighting back against tyranny. So, you know, there are, like, every song I write, it has a purpose. It has a mission. It's meant to open the door. I mean, I plant the seeds. I'm just trying to get people to care about things. You know, whether or not people agree with me isn't my end game. You know, it's just getting people to pull their focus away from all the you know, distractions that we have that are purposely put there to help re-educate people so they can make informed decisions. You know, if a person is educated, and I don't mean that they've got some piece of paper from some institution saying that they're educated. You know, I have one of those pieces of paper, and it doesn't mean anything. It just means that I spent 4 years, you know, goofing off, chasing girls and doing drugs and, you know, reading a few books. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm educated. I didn't get educated till I was 26. That's when my education really began.
Right. Because
I really wanted to get educated. But that's how I was able to make informed decisions and speak from any statement of understanding about what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan, we're going to play Pendulum right now and go to a commercial break. So I'm going to start playing that so that people hear that music. Hopefully.
We'll be right back. This is the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
So much music in one place.
Station's getting better and better. It always has exactly what I want to hear.
No wonder we're number one in Hamilton and New Jersey.
Jim McCann, No Holds Barred, right here on HamiltonRadio.net. Catch it at 8 p.m. on Saturday, no, HamiltonRadio.net.
Nothing could be finer than to sell more cotton and peanuts to international markets like Cuba. But Cubans can't buy your products because our politicians won't let them sell their sugar here. In fact, Americans pay 5 times the world price on sugar. If you think that protective tariffs make no sense, then you just might be a libertarian. To find out, call 1-800-ELECT-US and ask for a free information packet. The information's free. Your freedom is priceless.
NJLP.org. is a libertarian party that's for liberty and freedom. To learn more about the New Jersey Libertarian Party and join the fight for liberty, please visit njlp.org. At njlp.org website, you can get updated news on what njlp.org is doing, check for upcoming events near you, and learn how you can help njlp.org. And again, that's njlp.org. This ad is paid for by the New Jersey Libertarian Party, the party of principle.
If you want whole foods and more natural products while making your family healthier, visit 2285475.myforevergreen.org. That's 2285475.myforevergreen.org. Do it today.
Call Andrew Martino, Farmers Insurance, for all your insurance needs. Mr. Martino will give you the professionalism you expect from an experienced insurance agency. With Farmers Insurance, you will get the maximum coverage at competitive pricing. For a quick quote, contact Andrew Martino at 609-256-3364. 609-256-3364. Email Andrew at andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. That's andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. And Facebook, Andrew at Andrew Martino of Farmers. That's AndrewMartino of Farmers. Mention this ad to Andrew to let him know you heard this right here on HamiltonRadio.net.
Welcome back to the OnFire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
AskMyPsychics.com is a brand new group of genuinely gifted psychic readers who really care about each and every caller. Psychics who give the best phone and chat readings on the net. Our psychics are accurate, genuine, and won't waste your time with candy-coated sugar plums and fairy tales. Only the absolute truth served with a huge side of caring and compassion. So visit AskMyPsychics.com today because while they may not tell you what you want to hear, they will tell you what you need to know. AskMyPsychics.com.
We're back. This is Neil Schloss with the On Fire Show on HamiltonRadio.net, channel HR2. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you've been listening to the show tonight, great show so far. Mark Stevens from markstevens.net just beat the IRS and, of course, was talking about how you can do it also. And, of course, our second guest, Jordan Page, good friend of mine, great musician, has some awesome, awesome songs, pretty much anti-war, the Bob Dylan of this time, this era. I think he's got a lot of good meaning behind his songs. He woke up in 2006, of course, was big at the Ron Paul campaign. Ron Paul people know who he is. Other listeners that are not Ron Paul people, you're missing out on this great musician. So, again, welcome to the show, Jordan.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
So, did you guys have any questions for?
We had a
we had a question on the chat
room here. Let's.
The question was, Jordan, you want to talk about? Do you agree with the Occupy Wall Street?
I think Occupy Wall Street was an extraordinarily misguided movement. You know, I think that it started out with some great momentum, and it started out with some interesting messages, but ultimately it was co-opted like any threat to the state. It gets co-opted the same way the Tea Party got co-opted, and it ultimately became a big socialist collective. So no, I mean, I disrupting like businesses and trying to, you know, is unproductive. I didn't see that the Occupy movement did any real, you know, good. You know, I think I understood where some of them were coming from. But they always put the real wackadoos on TV. I mean, those are the people who became the spokesmen. You know, early on with Occupy, I actually contacted some of the leadership when there was leadership, to see how I could help. To support it with the music or whatever, and very quickly it all kind of went downhill, and I just didn't get involved in it. It wasn't. I didn't feel that it was the right thing for me to get behind, because of how all over the place it was, and the way that it was being associated. I don't know.
Well, I think
I wasn't completely against it. I kind of rolled my eyes at it quite often, but there were times that I thought that some of the points that were being made were good, but ultimately I didn't participate in it, and I didn't really lend any support to it. But I'm not gonna give people a bunch of grief for trying to express themselves. But I think you should express yourself in a positive, non-violent, non-coercive way. And I think that the state's response to Occupy was completely unwarranted. I think the state does what it does. It uses violence, and when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, sort of philosophy.
Right, well,
So I mean, I'm never happy with the state's response. So to Occupy, so I definitely would defend them on many fronts. But philosophically, I believe in liberty, and that does not mean the redistribution of wealth.
Right. A lot of people will point out, and I think it's true, that the genesis of both Occupy and the Tea Party movement came out of the corporatism of the bailouts back, at the end of the Bush administration, beginning of the Obama administration, and I think there was two divergent, paths taken from that. One is to roll back government, and then an Occupy, which is a leftist kind of approach, which is strengthen government so that will protect the people when actually there's creates cronyism. But the other part of that is the Tea Party. I know that there's issues with where they've gone to, but in all the stuff that the Tea Party did, they never did anything destructive. What I think turned a lot of people off, and again, what you said in the Occupy movement, is they did become destructive, as the left will be. They shut down businesses, they abused private property, and they abused public services that, whether we think there should be those public services or not, it was costing the taxpayers a lot of money to keep that thing orderly.
Well, and I think that shines a light on radicalism in general. I mean, there is positive radicalism and there's negative radicalism, and unfortunately, when you see the negative side of radicalism, the messages get lost, and people end up hurt, or the propaganda gets worse, and etc. So there is positive radicalism, though, and I think that can be seen in sit-ins and things of that nature, as opposed to an Occupy movement.
Well, the word radical means root. So it means a change, a fundamental change. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be bad. It means at a fundamental level. And I think we here would like to think of ourselves as radical, because we're not talking about an issue here, an issue there. Let's do 10% less of this and 5% more of that. We're talking about a fundamental root change in the way, a return to liberty. And I think that we are, in that sense, we are radical here, and we're proud of it.
Hey, Jordan, we're coming towards the end of our show. Do you have a final comment?
Well, I'd just like everyone to go and check out my website, jordanpagemusic.com. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. It's all Jordan Page Music, JordanPage. And if anyone wants to host me for a show anywhere in the country, I will gladly come there if I can. So you can get a hold of me at jordanpagemusic@gmail.com if you want to talk to me about booking some stuff. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Rhapsody, Amazon, Napster, anywhere that you can download music. You can find my music. So just pass it around and come see a show. I'm going to be in Chicago at Track's Sidebar and Grill tomorrow night in Brookfield, Illinois, right as part of Chicago, right there in the Chicago area. I'll be at the Weary Traveler in Madison, Wisconsin on Thursday. I will be at Original Docks Landing up in White Bear Lake, which is Minneapolis, Minnesota, on Friday as a memorial concert for my good friend David Crowley, who was the director for the Gray State film, who died recently. And then Saturday, I'm going to be at the Trey Lounge in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And Sunday, I'm doing a private house concert in Ames, Iowa. So just check out the website and come see a show. And I'll hopefully be seeing you guys in New Jersey there soon.
Absolutely, Jordan. I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Again, I'd love to have you on again. If you know of anyone, let me know, because we like to have guests that are of your quality and stature. And like I say, we are excited about where our fight has been, and I think the people can take their power back, and that's everyone that's listening. Even the agents of government, you're only working against yourself if you believe the state has power over you. It's just counterintuitive to my thinking. So, Jordan, I appreciate you calling in. Thanks for coming on. We're going to be playing which song? Liberty. So just to tell us a little bit about that song, Liberty, and then we'll close up the show.
Liberty was a song that I wrote in response to a comment I got at one of my shows back in 2010. I was playing at Drexel University in Philadelphia, and there was a political science professor at my show who told me that he really dug what I was doing, but that I hadn't figured out how to be really effective in recruiting people to libertarianism. And it was because I wasn't asking any questions in my songs. I was just pointing the fingers at the problem and just raging against the machine, not asking questions of people. And that if I ask the right questions, that's the real way to convert folks. Because then once they answer the question in their own mind, they'll always have that truth. And that really resonated with me a lot. And I went home after that tour and I wrote Liberty. I asked myself the first question in the song was, why do we sit down when all should be standing? And after I wrote that song, the floodgates just opened, and it was just a song with just lots and lots of questions. And that was a song that Ron Paul really liked of mine. I think that's probably one of the reasons why he had me with him so many times, was he heard me play that song live. And it was, it's definitely my most popular widespread song for sure, and is universally loved between all the different factions, from hardcore constitutional conservatives to the hardcore anarchists. Everybody in between loves the song, so I hope you guys enjoy it.
And of course they will, because like I say, the words are impressive. As a musician that likes the beat and the rhythm behind it, your words definitely have a lot of meat to it. So again, thanks, Jordan, for coming on. Enjoy your night. Give your kids big hugs from us out in Jersey, and hopefully I'll be seeing you in Jersey in May. And if you are coming out, we can promote it and get a sign up so that we know that we'll have a good amount of people showing up. So thanks again, Jordan.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Neil. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Goodbye.
So that was Jordan Page. Page Against the Machine is his radio show. He is definitely a really down-to-earth guy. And like I say, the guests I've had on, I can't thank you guys enough for taking time out of your busy schedules to join this radio show. I jokingly say I think I have one listener now, Crystal, who my wife is like, oh, is that who's Crystal now? So it's kind of funny. So if you like the show, please let other people know. If you don't like the show, please let other people know. I mean, the more we have with regards to the show listening, the conversations can be had, hopefully very where there's no guns drawn out to kill each other. I mean, I think the mind is important to wake up and realize that you control your destiny. I mean, there's a question on the chat room about paying taxes and, of course, being a CPA. I just tell people, like, if you choose, when you choose to stop paying taxes, that's your choice. The question is understanding the defense behind it, of course. Does the government have jurisdiction over you? I don't know that answer. I've tried to get that answer from the government. They ended up suing me and trying to erase a document that I wrote. And actually, the document I wrote was just an audit trail, which a CPA does. It creates an audit trail so that every step is followed. So I did certified mail, got the green cards back, so I have every green card. I have a green card from Steve Miller, which was the head of the IRS. I have Tim Geithner. He was named in it. I had William Wilkins, the chief counsel of the IRS. He was listed. We actually got in touch with TIGTA, which was the Treasury Inspector General. They showed up at my office to ask about the auditor because we thought the auditor was going off the deep end. And, of course, they asked if she had any political agenda. This was when the whole tax Tea Party was getting audited.
But I think one of the main lessons of tonight through listening to both our guests, really, Mark and Jordan. Mark's lesson is if you ask one question one way and you don't get the answer you want, then maybe ask it a different way and keep asking until they give you the evidence they have or give you a reason why they can't. And then Jordan's was pretty clear in that, I mean, just listening to his experience that he didn't know he hadn't woken up until 2008 or 2006.
Yeah,
and
2006.
I mean, everybody's going to open their eyes at a different time, so I think it's just important to spread the message and get that get people asking those questions so that
Jordan
they can
said,
learn.
Ask questions. It's the Socratic method of learning.
Yeah.
People have to teach themselves. You ask the question and let them teach themselves.
Yeah, when we have people joining the chat room, even as late as 10:30 in the show, the chat room is important to me because, of course, I see that you guys are listening, want to join the conversation. Of course, you can call in at 609-800-1003. Please put that in your phone so that you can call from anywhere, 609-800-1003. We'd love to have you join the conversation. And as far as the chat room goes, we got Cowboy Cindy joining us from our... Oh, so did I say cowboy? I'm sorry, Cindy. Cowgirl Cindy. From Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. We have the State College of PA listening in. If you join the chat room, tell us where you're from. We'll give you shout-outs. Shout out to, of course, Cindy and Derek for joining. These are chicken people. These are Fred Wedow's friends, the chicken people. All right?
If you happen to be in New York City, you couldn't have said cowboy or cowgirl. I mean, because I just saw something where somebody got fined because they were advertising a waitress for a hostess, and you can't have a gender-specific thing. So that is a cow person, Cindy.
Right.
Sorry about that, cow person. Do not bring charges against us.
Actually, you're not allowed to say that either because you're going against the animals.
Oh, boy.
You can't say an animal.
Half man, half cow.
Politically correct.
Yeah, we got...
What you were saying, but technically the government proved to you they don't have to answer anything, and the judges will listen to them.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we're at in the American courts. That's where we're at with the judges. That's where we're at with Supreme Court, everything.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop asking the question.
I didn't say that. I said that's what they think.
Right.
But if you're the kind of person that says, okay, fine, that's enough.
Try it a different way.
Hey, a few more shout-outs, of course. Gene and Alan from the Sew and Vacuum Superstore, Stony Brook, where I dropped off my vacuum to get fixed. You can reach them at 609-372-4018 if you need your vacuum fixed.
I see Neil's getting his vacuum fixed for free now.
No. But it's funny because, of course, I don't even feel like I'm a radio show host or hostess or co-host. I'm just
host man, host cow.
a cow host. Yeah. But anyway, it's if you are interested in supporting our show, the link for the mug is, I guess, still not fixed, Steve. So, of course, we will look into that, and I will let you guys know when the link is working for the OnFire show mug. Because, of course, if you support our show, it just helps us take care of bringing on great guests and keep improving on our show. And there is a lot more that we have to talk about. Next week's show, we don't have our guest as of yet, but, of course, if we don't have a guest, we'll still have a great conversation. Oh, we do, Mike, right? Eric?
Mark Claire coming on next week from Lions of Liberty.
Okay, Mark.
Claire, Lions of Liberty.
All right.
He's got a nationally listened to podcast and blog. So
what time is that? What time will he be on?
He's going to come on, I believe, at the 9 o'clock break.
All right, and then
he's out of Los Angeles.
LA's calling in the house?
Yeah.
Dude, it's impressive that we got people calling from Indiana. That was Jordan, right? He's out there. And Mark Stevens was from where? I don't even know where he's from.
New York.
Well, he's got that New York accent.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
He makes a point of being a New Yorker. Whether he lives there or not, I don't know. But he's.
But you gotta love that accent, man. I've grown up with it. My mom was from Brooklyn and my dad was from Brooklyn, and I know a lot of New Yorkers. So go Caps, according to Steve from Virginia. I don't know what Kevin has to say about the Capitals, but
go Pens.
Penn fan here. Actually, a big thank you to Mac from the Tattoo Parlor in Hightstown. He brought Kevin here an autographed book with Bobby Orr.
Yes, shout out to Mac. That was a very nice surprise.
And it's funny because Mac is a huge Devils fan, so he cannot have anything but Devils in his house. So it was easy for him to part with a Penguins book with
Bruins. But if you have any NHL paraphernalia signed that you don't want, send it to Mac, and I'm sure it'll show up on my door. I'll greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, so again, thank you for joining in, taking 2 hours out of your time. If you're a new listener, please like us on Facebook. Please like Hamilton Radio on Facebook.
Follow the On Fire show on